Okay, so we're going to graph our 5 most basic functions. Now here we're going to graph the basic leave myself enough room to write quadratic. Basic quadratic function. And that would be y equals x squared. So we simply plot the points from the graph. At -2, x is going to be 4. So at -2, well, y is -2 would come up straight up from -2. There's the line where y equals, or x equals -2. And we get y equals 4. There's a line where y equals 4. There's a line y equals -2. Every point in this line, y is -2. Here's a line, I'm sorry, this is the line x equals -2. Every point on this line has x coordinate -2. Every point in this line has y coordinate 4. Okay, and they intersect here. So right there is the point -2, 4. And we could label that. I'm not going to label every point, because you don't want to sit there watching me label everything when you know what I'm doing. But there's -2, 4. Okay. Then at -1, 1, well, again, we come up on the line x equals 1, and over on the line where y equals 1, and we get a point there. And then we have -1/2, 1/4. Now we want to be careful when we locate 1/4. We don't want to just slop any number between 0 and 1 down, which is something I frequently see. And we actually want to be a little more careful than I was here in locating where 1/2 is. If this is -1, my 1/2 is closer to -1 than it is to 0. Okay? So let's just kind of get rid of that point. Kind of smudges. But let's move it over to about where it ought to be, halfway between -1 and 0. And I think I've got it a little too close to 0. But anyhow, we're going to locate it. Okay, so we're going to be on the line where x equals 1/2. We want y to equal 1/4. We want to carefully locate 1/4. Well, here's 1. Where's 1/4? Well, we can divide the interval from 0 to 1 into half. There's 1/2. And then we divide that into 1/2 and we get 1/4. So here's where our point's going to be. Now this is one of the most important points on the graph, so we want to locate it as accurately as we can. We don't want to mess around with that, because it gives us the shape of our parabola. Okay? And we don't get the right shape if we don't have that point reasonably well located. Okay, then x is 0, y is 0. Well, that's the point 0, 0, which is easy to locate. And then we have 1/2, 1/4. Again, here's half, here's a fourth, here's 1/2 over here, here's x equals 1/2, y equals 1/4, and we're going to have a point about here. Then we're going to have 1, 1, and then moving up from x equals 2 to the line y equals 4, we have this point. So there's our graph of the standard basic or the basic quadratic squaring or squaring function. Let's make these points a little more visible. Okay, and that's it. That is the graph of our basic function at the standard values. Now, in a little while, we're going to do what I call the extended basic function, where we make a smooth curve here. We don't go line to line, incidentally. We never draw line-to-line graphs in this course, unless we do. That's an exception. Okay, if you're asked to do a line-to-line graph, okay, but I can't think of a reason why I'd want you to do that at this point. I'm not sure why people are taught to do that, except it's easier to draw line to line than it is to draw a smooth curve, and that might be a valid reason. Okay, anyhow, right there we have it. Okay, it turns out we didn't need the negative numbers, but I went ahead and did an axis that had all the numbers on it. Okay, Now let's do the basic exponential function at the standard values. That's this one, okay? Now we can actually do that with an x-axis at similar scale, where the y-axis is going to be here. And we're going to put -2 here, we're going to put 2 here, and we're going to put 4 all the way up here. Then we're going to subdivide our intervals. And looking ahead, we see we don't have any negative values, so I'm not going to bother labeling the negative y-axis. I don't even really need it, but I'm going to have it there anyway. Okay, so I have 4. If I subdivide the interval from 0 to 4 into 2 equal parts as best I can, then I've got 2. I didn't quite do that right, but then subdivide this and subdivide this, so I get my 1 and my 3. Okay, subdivide -2 to 0, I get -1. Subdivide -2 to 0, I get 1. And I swear the chalk turned on me. That's not a very well located point. It should be more like here. So I'm not going to smudge it, but you see what I mean. Okay, so and the graph is relatively to scale. 2 here is the same as 2 here, just as it was here. I'm using equal x and y scales as best I can. Again, for hand sketch graph, I don't expect miracles from you because I can't perform them myself. But we want to do it as well as we possibly can. And of course, if you have pencil and paper, it's possible to do a little more accurately than it is on a chalkboard. We want to see accurately what the shapes of these graphs are. Okay. I don't divide the -1 to 0 interval like I did here because I don't need 1/2 or -1/2 because that's not included in my standard basic exponential graph. Okay, so standard basic exponential graph. Y equals 2 raised to the x. Okay, my first point is -2 1/4. So again, I've got to locate where 1/4 is, and if I don't do this right, my graph isn't going to look like it should. Okay, so there's my 1/4. It's about this high, and that goes with -2. So my point's here. -1, I get 1/2. At 0, I get 1. Just looking at the table. -1, 1/2. 0, 1. Then I get 1, 2. So here's 1 and here's 2. And at 2 I get 4. So 2, I come up here to 4. And there's the trend of my basic exponential graph. Now that wasn't particularly difficult. It's a fairly easy graph to draw, but you want to draw it accurately. You want to see clearly that this point is only half as high as this, and I got it a little too high. And this point is twice as high as this is twice as high as this, and this is twice as high as this. We keep doubling. It's going to be very interesting. And over this way, everything goes, this is half of this is half of this. Keep going a half, and pretty soon we're down real close to the x-axis, even though we never get there. So those are things you want to kind of try to understand as early as possible. But the main thing right now is be able to draw these. And then hopefully think about what you're drawing. Okay? Now I've got a little bit of a problem here, but it's surmountable. Okay? Now let's go ahead and draw the 1/x graph. Now I'm not sure you can see all of that table. And actually looking at it, I'm pretty sure you can. So I'm going to switch this board over here, and we'll do that in another video.